Nebraska Prep Zone podcast. I'm Stu Pospisil, Mike Patterson with us as always. Mike, we're hoping for good weather later this week because we've got a bunch of things going on, and especially Tuesday and Wednesday night could be a little stormy around here.
Right. I'm kind of zeroing in on that Metro baseball tournament, Stu, which already has been disrupted one time. I don't know if I can remember a year when we didn't have bad weather at some point. They were hoping to finish it off this last Saturday, the semifinals and the final. That didn't happen. So it's scheduled for tomorrow night, Wednesday. Semifinals at noon and 2:30. Millard West will play Elkhorn South at noon at Elkhorn South. Prep and Millard South are at 2:30. And then the final, hopefully, is at 5 p.m. at Elkhorn South. Again, hopefully we can sneak it in before the bad weather hits.
All three games are there, right?
All three games at Elkhorn South.
Okay. Was it hard to do ratings this week without having that finish?
It was a little difficult, and it kind of came down to two teams there up on top, Stu, and I kind of flipped them a little bit. We got a new number one overall in our top 10, and judging by the results Monday night, I think maybe I made the right decision. So, let's look at that overall top 10.
Go right ahead.
Our new number one this week is Lincoln East, the Spartans of Michael Lanick, the former prep assistant. The Spartans, they have beaten Millard West this season, but they had two earlier losses, but they're really riding a nice win streak right now. They won the HAC tournament. And it came down between those two teams, and I thought maybe the Spartans had just done enough to take over that top spot. And Millard West is down to number 2. They lost to Gretna early last week, and they lost to Millard South last night. So the Wildcats now have 3 losses. So they were just undefeated not that long ago. So
exactly. I was going to ask you what might happen if Millard West would happen to win the Metro Tourney, but it sounds like as long as Lincoln East is riding with this win streak, that the Spartans are going to hold reign in this Class A and top 10.
Right. I looked at the East, and they've beaten the teams that I have right behind them, 2, 3, and 4. They've beaten all 3 of those teams. So I thought it was logical to put those Spartans up there. The fact Millard West lost last night kind of justifies it. But again, we'll see how that Metro tournament pans out.
Pretty good spring, I think, going for Lincoln East, and I know in our all sports competition I've been told that they and Westside look to be kind of neck and neck. I don't ever look at the points until after all our ratings are done to not give any sense of worrying about the team title. So I never look before the end of the year, but supposedly those two are in the hunt, and you could have a Lincoln Southwest come up with a good spring or something like that as well.
Lincoln East has the edge over Westside in baseball, at least to this point. And, I think they might have thought this was a little bit of a rebuilding year at East. They lost a lot of players from last year's squad that made a deep run into the Class A playoffs. They do have some good players back and obviously some good young players. So they've overcome the loss of graduation of Jalen Worthley, who's on at Nebraska now. His brother Jeter still plays for the Spartans. Michigan recruit, catcher, really good player, and they have some other good players too. So that all gets back to East ascending to that number 1 spot for the first time this season.
Is Elkhorn South poised to make a run here?
I think the Storm got off to a little bit of a stormy start. They lost a few games, unexpected. They've got a lot of Division I talent on that team, and I think it just took a little bit of time for them to bring it all together. They were the Metro Tournament runner-up last year. They'll be playing on their home field again, so we'll see how they do that semifinal against Millard West, and we'll see if they move on to the final again for the second straight time. Prep beat them last year in the final.
Well, take us through your top 10, and then who's heading B and C?
Well, as I said, Spartans of Lincoln East, number 1, Millard West, number 2, Elkhorn South, making a nice run lately, Storm up to 3, Prep, number 4, Millard South, 5, Gretna, 6, Elkhorn North, our Class B number 1, is 7, Bellevue West, 8, and now here's a newcomer in the top 10, Stu. Omaha Burke. The Bulldogs.
Congratulations to the Bulldogs.
The Bulldogs, first-year coach Aaron Molinaro. He's done a really nice job. They defeated Papio South, and that was enough. They got a winning record right now. They've kind of got a tough stretch coming up, but I think they've done enough to justify that number 9 spot, and Papio South checks in at number 10. And our number 1's Class A, Lincoln East. Class B, as I mentioned, Elkhorn North. And Class C, Malcolm still number 1. However,
do they take a defeat?
The Clippers were defeated by Wahoo, and the Clippers were defeated by Plattsmouth. That's another team in Class C.
Okay.
That was just last night, Monday night. So Malcolm number 1 for right now, but they were the last team that was undefeated, fallen from the undefeated ranks. So now Malcolm is still number 1, but we'll have to see if that stays the same way next week. It's just going to touch, Stu, on a couple games from last night. I mentioned Millard South defeated Millard West 8-6. I think this just shows how tough ranking baseball is. It's very fluid.
I think I may be finding out, but
very fluid from week to week. That's true. Pius X defeated Prep 9-5. Lincoln East survived 8-5 against Papio. Kearney defeated Millard North. That's a team that we talked about this past week as Dave Cork, Millard North coach, reached the number 400 victory milestone. Congratulations to Dave.
Nice feature column today on Dave Cork.
So yeah, thank you. Yep, Dave's done a really nice job, and of course, everybody remembers that 2005 team that went 35-0, one of the best ever. It's amazing that they went through that whole season undefeated. So yeah, Dave was at the helm back then, and he's still there with the Mustangs. A few other games from last night. Elkhorn North, our number 1, defeated Bennington 1-0. Very close game. Bennington just moved into the Class B ratings this past week at number 10. Blair put the hurt on Omaha Gross 10-2. The Cougars are kind of up and down this season, but yeah, that was a big win for Blair. Plattsmouth, as I mentioned, defeated Malcolm. And Roncalli 6, Omaha Central 5. I mentioned that because that's a Class C team over a Class A team. So just a lot of games last night. And like I said,
how much pitching depth, pitching counts? It looks like the right pitching matchups, teams that you don't think can win are going to prevail. Is that because maybe we're getting more games in?
It's hard to say, but each team has usually at least one really good pitcher, and maybe 2. And depending who's on the mound, I think that's why baseball is so difficult to rank from week to week, and why it is so fluid. You're not throwing the same starting 5 out there like you are in basketball. So a lot depends on who that starting pitcher is, and I'm guessing that might have happened to Malcolm. Plattsmouth has a good pitcher or 2, and maybe they ran into one of those too. So yeah, I think that's a big part of it. Whoever's on the mound.
Staff?
So, well,
I've seen the first month.
From what I've seen, I still think Millard West is going to be there someplace at the end. Whether they win it or not, I don't know. I saw Prep the other day for the first time. They have some good young players that are stepping up because they've had a lot of injuries. I think Lincoln East, even though they're young, they have a good staff, and I think Elkhorn South is another team that, like I said, I think they're kind of hitting their stride now. So I think those 4 teams are looking pretty strong, at least pitching-wise.
Well, we're going to turn to soccer, and not much change at the top. In boys soccer, it's still Omaha Scott, Class B's number 1 overall, leading the top 10 ratings of Nick Rubick. Class A's leader is Gretna with a couple losses. Down in or over in girls, it's Gretna number 1. Now they gave up an own goal last week to mar their season clean sheet, but they still got the win over Lincoln Southwest, and then Omaha Duchesne still undefeated in Class A, or in Class B, excuse me. And the big action this week looks to be the Heartland Conference tournament with all the Lincoln schools.
It's amazing that Gretna went that far without giving up a goal, and who knows, maybe in the long run, giving up that goal will help them to loosen up a little bit. They don't have to worry about trying to keep that going. I don't know if that's ever happened where a team hasn't given up a goal all season long. That seems really far-fetched.
When I did 20 years of soccer firsthand, and I want to say Omaha Marion 1 year gave up 4 goals all season in an undefeated campaign. So it's going to happen. Like you say, it may take a little pressure off the Dragons, who have a long winning streak going, but they seem to have the talent to again prevail in Class A.
I'm amazed that they played those. I think that was the Metro Conference Tournament final. They played them on Saturday, which, if you remember, the weather was not nice on Saturday, but they got them played. So credit to those players.
Yeah, what was the Gretna Southwest game on Saturday?
Yeah. Credit to those players and those coaches and those fans for sitting out there and getting through those games.
Lightning. Soccer's going to play through just about anything. So, I mean, I've seen districts in first week of May where there's been snow coming down and they've played. So, again, it's short of lightning. They're going to be on the pitch.
On with the game.
On with the game. In track this past week, the big action was down at first of all, was at Elkhorn Stadium, where Jaden Bullion from Bellevue West, first in 16 years, Mike, to throw the discus 200 feet.
Wow.
And so he's now on a lot of radars for college track and field offers. He's a Wayne State football recruit, but only in the 5th all-time to ever get to 200 feet. And then going down to KU over the weekend, Caden Frederick, South Dakota State track recruit from Papio South, wins the relays with a throw in the mid-190s. So you throw those two in with Sam Capos from Lincoln East, it could be a really interesting discus competition at Burke, especially if we get a little bit of a windy day from the right quadrant or sector to maybe see a great performance out there.
I was going to mention that. You always hear about wind maybe affecting the sprinters and things like that. Would wind affect a discus throw, or do they put an asterisk by something like that?
There is no wind criteria there, because, again, it's how the vector or the sectors work, because you got to keep it within a radius much narrower than a baseball diamond of 90 feet or 90 degrees. So, sometimes you can get that rise and sometimes it just knocks it down. So, and you don't have, it's not like you can rotate your discus ring any direction to take advantage of the wind.
The vector victor.
The vector victor. Good old airplane line. And also at KU, Mike, Amari Lang, who could have been playing basketball for Millard South. She's a very good basketball player from what we've learned, but softball player. But she won the Kansas Relays with a meet record long jump of 19.6 1/4. She's almost to 20 feet for her season best here. It was a 1-2 finish down there for Nebraskans with Demi Davies from Westside, last year's champion. At state, finishing second. So again, we've got some great track marks going, and if we get good weather, the state meet, albeit 4 days, and we're not going to have the traditional Saturday finish once again for all 4 classes, which is a real pity, and I'm still working to get that changed for future.
That's all Millard South would have needed, was another great basketball player. As great as their basketball team was this season, I'm sure they would have found a spot for her, but as we all know.
I think in the faculty versus student game, she had like 30. I mean, she just dominated in that one. But, also on the high school scene, we had Kingston Solomon at Champions Run yesterday, shooting 68 to lead Creighton Prep to the victory at its home Invitational, and the Junior Jays 6 under par for a 4 golfer total. Westside was 4 back, also breaking par. So again, got a good day for golf yesterday, and the scores reflected it.
I think I shot a 68 at Champions once, but I only played 9 holes. So.
Well, I was going to say, had you gotten to like 13 and 14, maybe?
I dream of shooting a 68 like that.
Oh, I've seen you play. You're better than that.
Hit and miss.
Our swimming rider, I could see him not getting to 68 through 9 holes, but I think you can make the turn at 68. I have before, so.
Okay.
But anyway, on that note, we will be back the next time with another edition of the Nebraska Prep Zone podcast. For Mike Patterson, I'm Stu Pospisil. See you then.